for telling tales and stacking dice. That's right, it's Icarus from Hunter's Entertainment. This storytelling game about how great civilizations fall puts players in the role of storytellers, collectively building a narrative about the city of Icarus and its monument of prosperity represented by a dice tower in the center of the table. Setup begins by separating the cards and creating the story deck. First, organize the cards by type: pillars of society, motives, the cracks in our facade, the rifts between us, the final hours, and the bitter end card. To create the story deck, take the single bitter end card and place it face down on the table. Next, shuffle the final hours cards and place them face down on top of the bitter end. Then shuffle the rifts between us cards and deal 5 face down on the stack. Repeat this process for the cracks in our facade, then put the remaining cards from those piles out of the game. Next, choose the setting or theme of the story that the players will explore in the game. Go around the table and collectively choose a theme. Or you can use the suggestions in the Icarus rulebook, like a frontier town in the American West, or a fantastic magical city in the heart of an ancient world. Whatever you choose, the group will develop a shared story about the rise and eventual fall of this great city of Icarus. Once the group has agreed on a setting, shuffle the 12 Pillars of Society cards and deal cards face up equal to the number of players plus 1. Each player will now choose one pillar that they're interested in exploring during the game and place it in front of them. The remaining pillar stays in the center of the table to serve as the foundation of the monument. Pillar cards each have a strength and a weakness question. Collectively choose one pillar's weakness question to explore in the game, whichever is most interesting to your group. The remaining pillars will all be strength questions. Once picked, the player whose pillar was chosen answers the weakness question aloud in a short, succinct response. The rest of the players follow suit, answering the strength question on their card. These responses will be used to create aspects. These are notes in the game where players write their answers to the questions posed by the cards, expanding on the world. Aspects should be specific yet simple. The aspect placement on the table should also reflect its nature. For example, an aspect that says the grain fields have been poisoned and people are getting sick because of it would probably sit somewhere between the agriculture and health pillars. Throughout the game, aspects can be replaced by removing the old aspect and putting another in its place, or augmented by creating a new aspect and placing it nearby. Next, shuffle the motive cards and deal one randomly to each player. Everyone will combine their motive and their personal pillar to create a character they'll control during the game. If you chose the pillar safety and received the protect the citizens motive, you could be playing the role of a good-hearted sheriff looking out for the people of her town. Each player should write their character's name and how they relate to their motive and pillar on a note available to all players. Finally, place the dice within easy reach outside of the pillars. Now the players discuss the purpose of the monument/tower based on the monument's chosen pillar and the city. Then players create an aspect collaboratively, answering the question, what is the monument's function? This may be something simple, like to show off our power to the surrounding colonies. Or it might be more practical, like a giant watchtower to keep the city safe. Remove the pillar card and put the aspect in its place near the center of the table. Draw 2 cards from the story deck and place them face up. Read them both aloud and answer the questions together as a group, creating or replacing aspects to reflect the answers. Choose a first player to begin. Gameplay occurs in rounds, during which each player takes a turn. In a turn, the active player chooses between 2 options. Enact a change by placing 1 die on an aspect their character would like to spend time addressing. That player describes the change and how they hope to achieve it. Or support a cause by placing 1 die on an aspect that already has a die to support that change, and describing how their character would support the effort, giving it a better chance to succeed. After the die has been placed, the active player draws the next card from the story deck and answers the question, creating or replacing an aspect as needed. Sometimes these changes might modify or replace an aspect that already has a character's die placed on it. If this is the case, place the die on the new aspect instead. The character must adapt to this changed situation when they resolve their die. At the end of the round, once all players have taken an action and answered a story card, the first player adds one die to the tower to indicate that time has passed. The players whose dice are on any aspects roleplays what their characters are trying to do. When the scene reaches its climax, the player or players should describe what success would look like and roll all of the dice on the aspect. If any of the dice rolls result in a pillar symbol, the change succeeds and an aspect is created or replaced to reflect this change. If the dice are all blank, an aspect is created or replaced to represent a major consequence of their failure. Regardless of the outcome, any blank dice are added to the tower. If a die is already on the monument, another is added on top. Once all dice have been resolved, first player privileges are passed to the left, and the game continues, starting another round with the new first player. When adding or replacing an aspect, players may find that another aspect on the table no longer makes sense. Don't hesitate to change or remove it for narrative cohesion. At some point during the game, the dice tower is gonna fall. This triggers the final collapse of the civilization and also ends the game. Players answer 3 questions as a group before walking away from this society forever. What caused the tower to collapse? What happened to your character in the aftermath? And what became of this civilization after its fall? And that's Icarus. I'm Becca Scott, and I got a tale. It's called The Epic of Beatrice. So Beatrice, what happened to her whole party? Nobody knows, but I know, and I'm looking for a publisher. Hit me up, Simon or Schuster, either one. You can watch me play this game and other awesome games on Game the Game right here on Geek and Sundry. We will see you there.